Good evening. Welcome to Stoughton Godfathers. I have a special guest this evening. His name is Rick Keller, and he has a unique thing that he does. As you can see, he's a pretty young fella, especially when you're 80 years old looking at him. He looks real young, but you're going to find out that he really knows his stuff. I went to a thing where he was doing something like we're going to be doing tonight, and that's basically where I met him. But he's very knowledgeable. And Rick, probably you could give us a little bit about yourself, your bio, maybe some of the things you said before. Sure. I don't want to repeat them because you can handle that, and you can tell them about how you got into it, your dad, and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And then we'll probably look at a few items.
Sure.
Yeah.
So again, as Ed said, my name's Rick Keller. I've been in the industry for pretty much my whole life, more in the sports memorabilia and sports cards aspect of things. My father growing up would always be bringing in different things, you know, lamps, cards, watches, jewelry, coins, you name it. So it was always in my house, and something I would be interested in. So it spawned from, you know, just collecting into a business pretty naturally. So yeah, it's all good stuff, and it's all stuff of interest, and I enjoy looking at it in my free time.
Now, do you go to all these antique shows and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's mostly sports card oriented.
Most sports card, yeah.
A lot of jewelry, a lot of coins. Those are more through private deals. People will reach out to me saying, you know, I have X coin collection. Will you come take a look at it for me and appraise it for me? You know, I'll give them a round number on it. Sometimes we come to terms, sometimes we don't, but you know, it's mostly the knowledge, if anything, that I like to provide.
Yeah, of course.
I like to provide for folks.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned you have something coming up soon, I guess, a show?
I do. Gillette Stadium during this weekend, the bye week. There's going to be a show Saturday and Sunday from about 9 a.m. to late in the afternoon. Like I said, at Gillette Stadium. It's going to be a great one. There'll be a lot of vendors set up, a lot of high-end sports cards. I'll be set up with some coins and some sports cards, so come on down if you're around this weekend. Yeah.
Are these shows things you can just walk into, or do you have to have a ticket or pay a price or whatever that?
Typically, most of them are free. I know Gillette's obviously more of a premium venue than, you know, a local station or spot. Yeah. So I think it's about $5 or $10, but it's going to be well worth the admission. I know a lot of the Patriot guys will be in attendance, walking around. Johnny Manziel signing, and a few other pretty neat people. Yeah.
Some people signing. Yeah, that sounds good. I wasn't aware that you had one coming up this soon until today. So if you folks are looking for something to do next weekend, is it both days?
Yeah, it's Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday. So you know, check it out. I'm sure they can go online to get the details.
Sure. Yep. It's Card Vault USA. They have a storefront at Patriot Place in Foxborough, and they're the one hosting the show.
Yeah. So there again, that's you know, something you all might want to take in and maybe bring some of your teenagers that have probably bought a card last week. They think it's worth $1 million, but
I can set them straight.
They may leave sad.
I can set them straight.
So, but anyway, I have a couple of things. I know you brought some things.
Sure.
But this one's got to be worth $1 million. I have in my hand.
Let's see.
This is a light switch cover. It's got Babe Ruth on it, man. It's got Babe Ruth, and it talks about Red Rock Cola for 5 cents. What do you think of that?
So this is a pretty interesting little piece. It's not as old as Ed and I both originally thought it was. These were pretty much mass-produced in the 90s. It's pretty cool, but if it was an original, obviously a taller advert of Babe Ruth and not just a little, you know, commemorative light switch, it'd be worth, you know, several $1,000s. But a lot of these were thrown away, the original ones, that is. You know, just with age and time and rust, you know, these signs were outside typically. So it's just a cool little memento, but not a ton of value, about $5.
Yeah. So that just goes to show you that sometimes you get disappointed. And what a way to start the show off. I'm disappointed.
It's only going to go up from here.
Yeah. The other thing I had a book. I think it was my dad's. It looks to be. I'll just give it to you.
That's pretty cool.
It's more of a.
So we got a True Comics
military thing or something. Was that a brand at that time? True Comics?
Yeah, it was one of the publishers. So. It's a little banged up, but that's okay. Was it your father's, you said?
It was, yeah.
Very neat. Very neat. So this is late 40s, early 50s. It's got some staining, it's got some toning, got a little rip. So again, with magazines and comics from this era in general, most of the collectors who are after them in super pristine shape, because there was millions upon millions of these literally printed.
Sure.
So again, with rips and tears and other kind of issues with it, it isn't super collectible. If it was like the first issue or something like that, that was really spectacular.
Sure.
Can't really see it here, but it's issue number 33, so it's a little bit later on. If it had some special subject matter, for instance, for the superheroes and things like that. If it was the first instance of Wolverine or Spider-Man 1 or something like that, a real historic figure, those have a real big premium. But this is obviously military kind of context, so not a whole lot of value here. Probably $6 to $10 retail. So again.
Well, I guess I'm not going to get rich today.
No, you're going up in price.
Going up a little bit.
We went from 5 to maybe double.
One last thing I want to show. This is, I've been trying to remember it, and I think it was something that was done, let's see, I think it was done when they named the building in Boston for Tip O'Neill.
Very cool.
And it's like a bookmark, I think it is, but it's hard to see because the printing is so small.
Printing is very small. It definitely is a bookmark of some sort. Boston, is it BU? Boston University?
I thought it said something like Tip O'Neill.
Celebration of Heritage and Prowess, Promise. 1984. Was this yours?
Yeah, it is, yeah. I think that's when they named the building for him, so I think it references Tip O'Neill somewhere in that.
I don't see it on here.
Oh,
here it is, yep.
Yeah.
So again, something that's like an oddball piece like this. Again, you need the right guy for it.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing. It can have historical value and significance, but if there isn't a collector base out there looking for it, it's neither here nor there. So again, it's probably $5 to $10 to the right guy who's itching for a Tip O'Neill bookmark. I'll
see if I can get Tip O'Neill's family.
Yeah, give it to them.
Yeah. I thought it is a little different. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it's probably a ton of them. They probably handed them out at the
like hotcakes.
Yeah.
84.
But. And these are just two things. I think these are
little
one of the
spoons.
kids. Yeah, I don't know if they're really silver. Or,
let's see. So yeah, typically Reed and Barton. If it's earlier Reed and Barton, it will be sterling silver, and it will be stamped sterling on them. These are later year sterling Reed and Barton, excuse me. So they're plated. So these really don't have a ton of value because silver plated means there's a very thin layer of silver on top of an inferior metal. So again, they're pretty cool. They got little like clowns or some designs on them. But yeah, not a ton of value, unfortunately. Again, probably like $5 to $10 to the person.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, if they were older though, there's some money there. They'd be worth quite a bit.
Well, no one ever accused me of being born with a silver spoon. So
no,
that's part
of it.
But anyway, just as a starter there, I know you.
Brought a few things.
One of our people had. You already saw it. That's something that they would use at going to the opera or that type of thing.
I believe so. Yeah, these are a Japanese variation, probably from the late 50s again, early 60s, and they're. I think they're. What are they? Carter binoculars, exactly like you said, to see the opera and things like that. Again, the collectors who collect this stuff are few and far between in optical stuff, so they do have a little bit of rust on them, and they've been used at the opera quite a few times, which isn't a bad thing. But
and at the sad ones, all the tears help turn the rust there.
All the tears from the sad ones is right. Again, probably a $5 to $10 piece. If anything, it's a cool looking piece because it's so kind of like beat up and like vintage looking. It's not super pristine. It's
if someone has something like that, that's beat up, would it be advantageous for them to clean it up, something like that, or that just ruins the whole idea?
Yeah, so it's neither here nor there. For instance, from the coin perspective, if it's a super old and rare coin, it's best to leave it alone. And same thing with the sterling silverware. A lot of people clean it and polish it and things like that, but there's a certain kind of aura about the older pieces that people kind of prefer the patina. As crazy as that sounds, people like the older look to it, but something like this is more damaged rather than patina. So it's like the rust and stuff like that. Again, the amount of labor and effort to fix it isn't worth its intrinsic value. So again, if you're going to keep this at your house or something like that, you want to fix it up to make it nice, that's one thing. But again, to put $30 or an hour of your life cleaning it up to sell it for $5 doesn't really make sense. So again, it's kind of one of those things.
I was talking to Rick earlier, just before the show, about old bottles. In my business that I had for some time, it was a landscape business, and so you were doing a lot of digging. In some areas, you would just start getting all these old bottles and stuff like that. So I have a ton of them. And in general, do people react or collect old bottles, or if they do, it's a certain type?
Yeah, mostly the people, at least that I've been working with, they don't really collect bottles. They inherit them from different things like that. They don't really aren't out there looking for those type of things.
Yeah.
But again, if you have an old Coca-Cola crate from the 30s or 40s, the crates are worth $30 to $40, and then all the bottles are individually again $5 to $8 a piece. Again, it's finding the right person who will appreciate that sort of thing, and the older glass and older bottle style. You have to really find the right guy who likes that type of advertisement in that era.
Sure. And you mentioned you had some.
I did,
coins,
yeah.
et cetera.
I brought in a few different things just to show to everyone. So we'll start with some coins. So this is a 1921 Morgan dollar. It's an S. I don't know, the camera's picking up a little tough to see, but it's a Morgan dollar. Like I said, San Francisco. It's an S, 1921, and the retail on something like this is about $60. But if it was from a common mint, so this is a better mint. If it was from a common mint, it's only about $20. So it's a lot rarer at $60 worth.
Oh, because it's from San Francisco.
Exactly. They minted less of these.
Oh,
so again, it's a nice shape. It's very bold. A lot of these, obviously, these were handled quite a bit as this was the form of money. So they'd be worn pretty much completely down. So to have them nice and bold looking and from a rare mint, almost over 100 years old, is quite rare. So this will be some inventory on Saturday and Sunday. This is pretty cool too. This is just a 1 troy ounce coin. These are from private mints. So again, that last coin was minted by the United States government, and then this is a private mint. So you and I could be in our backyard melting up coins and melting them down to coins and bars. So this coin has a little bit of a premium at $35 an ounce, and the spot price for silver is about $23. But you have to pay over that number to get physical silver in your hand. There's a premium there. And there's another premium since it is a private mint. Some people prefer that rather than the government mints. So that's that. And then finally, we got a 1986. This is a Walking Liberty. And this is a pretty rare coin too. It's an S. This is a proof coin. So you can see it's kind of got that mirror-like finish. Not a lot of these were produced. They were, like I said, proofs. So they're uncirculated, and you can see it's real.
What year was it?
86. It's a Walking Liberty.
1886.
1986. Yeah. So it's a newer coin.
I see what I got you.
So this was issued from the mint directly, not to be touched by hands and things like that. But if this was not a proof and not circulated, it would only be about $30. So it's $65 because it is a proof and is quite rare.
Yeah.
So
one of my friends has a large collection of the. What was the word you used?
Morgan dollars?
No, the type they're mint every year, and they'll have
proofs. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and he has he's collected
great stuff.
He's collected those over the years.
Great stuff. Yeah, proofs have a big following. Gentlemen will do from either the year they're born to now, or they'll have some kind of niche that they're after that they like to collect, and the U.S. Mint does a great job. So another thing that I collect and some other stuff that I have. This is some women's jewelry. Don't worry, I don't put it on. It's some pretty cool stuff. So this is a pair of earrings. They're 14 karat gold, pear-shaped garnets, and little pearls at the top of them. But stuff like this always sells really well, women's jewelry. It's pretty nice. It's vintage. It's from the 60s. So that's about $450 for a pair like that. So it's always nice to find stuff like that on the travels. It's jewelry, like I said, sells quite well.
Yeah. What types of jewelry, in addition to earrings, that you would?
Yeah, so bracelets, necklaces, pretty much anything broken, perfect. I pay pretty much top dollar because I don't have real overhead compared to some of these other guys who got storefronts and 10 employees. I'm right there with my numbers, so I'm always buying stuff every weekend.
Yeah, I noticed that on your card.
Yeah.
I don't know if
watches.
We can zoom in on this. I don't know if people are going to be able to see it. Maybe you should hold it. Okay. And it just talks about how he does
a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. Yeah.
Tough to see, but it's all right.
Yeah.
Great. And then go into the final bit of stuff that I'm passionate about real quick. Some sports cards. So this card is Cristiano Ronaldo. He's one of the most famous soccer players of all time. This is considered a rookie card. It's from a second printing. and it's ungraded, so it's considered raw, which is just a term in the industry. I mean,
You said unrated or ungraded?
Ungraded.
Okay,
Yeah.
oh, I get
so
that.
it's ungraded.
Yep,
It's and it's how they came out of the pack, and what you can do is spend anywhere between $30 to a couple $100 to get them now graded into these bad boys. So this is called PSA. They're the best company in the world. They're a third-party authenticator, so it's like their decision and opinion is pretty much the top tier. So it's not like you and I bickering back and forth what we think it is. They're kind of the they got no skin in the game.
Right.
So there's that. So again, the first one ungraded was about $80, and then the one that is graded, it's about $220. So there is quite a difference in price to get it graded, and it is advantageous to get it graded.
Now, being soccer, would that player have been from another country other than the U.S.?
Exactly, yeah. So Cristiano Ronaldo is from Portugal.
Portugal.
So, like I said, a lot of this stuff I've been collecting since high school, and I've since graduated college. So it's all stuff I bought for pennies on the dollar, because a lot of it's appreciated quite a bit, because the sport's growing in America quite a bit.
So my follow-up question would be: would it be worth more, say, to sell, say, in Europe than here?
Well, the American market for collectibles definitely dictates everything, which a lot of people don't understand. Europeans collect this type of stuff when they're kids, and they kind of forget about it. Whereas Americans, we collect our whole lives. And same thing with Asians; they're huge in basketball, and so they're fanatics about it. So the Asian market and the United States market pretty much dictates the price of collectibles. It's starting to heat up, though, surprisingly, in Europe. So it's, there's a lot of big card shows. Munich and London, all these different hubs.
So it's somewhat international.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Soccer's an international game. Pretty much all these soccer cards I'll show are stuff that I've gotten from overseas.
Interesting.
So this one is a Pele rookie card.
Everybody knows Pele.
Yeah, so this is a rookie card from 1958.
Oh, it's a big card, huh?
It's a big card. So this was literally the last page of an album. So little kids would cut it out at the at the end of the back in the day. And so this is Pele is in the center there, and with his rest of his team.
Brazil?
Correct. Yeah, this I bought from a Brazilian collector, and it's from 1958, so it's pretty old. And that's about $600 range or something like that. So definitely some money there.
That might be of interest here in Stoughton, because we have a large Portuguese community and more recently a growing Brazilian community.
That's great.
So,
definitely no Pele.
You might see that if you go to the show.
Yep, that'll be there. I'll be there. This one's pretty cool since I'm from Foxborough. It's a Rob Gronkowski. It's a one-of-one rookie card.
Wow.
So this is the only one in the world. It's called a Superfractor. It's got a crazy little pattern going on. I've had this for a very long time as well. But something like this, you could pretty much make up your own price, because it's literally the only one in the world.
The only one in the world?
Mm-hmm.
How did you get that?
A lot of money and a lot of time. So something like that's about $2,500.
Wow.
So it's pretty neat little piece.
Imagine that.
Yep, pretty neat.
Plus, he's such a popular, not only in New England, but I mean, you see him doing all these ads and stuff.
He's a character.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Typically, though, the quarterbacks sell the best, but again, the kind of comedian guys and the guys who are in the press, do well. So Gronk's always a hot seller.
Mm-hmm.
So just to move into some vintage baseball, let's see. So this is a Mickey Mantle and a Jim Palmer. The Jim Palmer is a rookie. Look at my fingers in the way. So the Mantle's a 68. It's a PSA 5, which is pretty good. The grading system goes from 1 to 10, so 5 is dead in the middle. So it's a pretty strong grade. Because again, this one didn't get into little kids' bike spokes, or mom didn't throw it away. So that's a rarity.
I could tell you a story about the bicycle spokes.
Yep, throwing them off walls and trading them. And the other one's a Jim Palmer rookie and a 6, so another pretty great card that you don't see too often. But I mean, that's pretty much it. Another one-of-one soccer card there. So this is the only one in the world of just some Egyptian player that I've enjoyed growing up. So it's pretty rare. You can pretty much, again, make up your own price. It's the only one in the world.
Same thing, yeah. Really, yeah.
And then this one's Cristiano Ronaldo again for our Portuguese community. This is a match-worn piece of his jersey from a pretty predominant set from 2018. So something like that, it's about $450.
Yeah.
Definitely some value there. Definitely a fun thing to collect. Like I said, me and my father have been collecting for a very long time, so it's definitely been something to unite us and keep us out of trouble.
Yeah. When I think of cards, I always think of Topps. Is that like a major?
Yep, so those two baseball cards I showed you, the Mickey Mantle and Jim Palmer, those are Topps cards. That's pretty much.
Did they have a competitor?
Not really. Bowman was one of the competitors at the time. Nowadays, the soccer cards are mostly Upper Deck and Panini. Panini's out of Italy, and they kind of started in the 60s creating sticker cards for kids to paste into albums. You peel off the back and stick it in to almost like a comic book.
Yeah. It was funny, I was on, had me online today, and I saw something there that it was a postage stamp. I forget what year it was, but it was a 4-cent Lincoln.
Oh, wow.
And it was saying that it was very, very valuable.
Yeah, so stamps are something we definitely see less of, just because there's less stamp collectors out there than say so coin collectors. Yeah, some of the older stamps from the early 1900s, if they have the backs on them.
I don't think it was that old.
Yeah, oh, it was newer then.
Yeah,
4 cent?
Yeah, it looked like it did. Maybe, I don't know, as kids we used to always just sort of soak them off. If they had. But you could see on this one, it looked like it did have a, it had been stamped.
Yep.
So anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting because I haven't looked at my stamps in years.
Yeah.
But
yeah, definitely some of the Washington. There's like purple Washington ones from the 20s and 30s. Those are great stamps.
Yeah.
Those are again $50 to a couple $100 a piece. So if you have those, sock those away.
Yeah. No, would they have to be new, or the canceled ones have any value?
Canceled ones less so, obviously, because they have marks over them and things like that. But again, the stamps are 100 years old, so really in any shape, there's value there.
There's value there. I have to start looking.
Yeah.
Hopefully, the mice in the attic haven't got at them.
Yeah.
So that'll be kind of cool. Yeah. So how would you got interested because your dad was involved in all this stuff, and we were talking about this show coming up. What would encourage some younger people, teenagers or people in their 20s, or that to go to look at this? Do you see people in those age brackets? Are they interested in this?
Oh yeah, there's definitely a huge younger audience.
Really?
I mean, the average age at some of these shows are, 5 to 10-year-olds. There's a huge demographic there, and then there's gentlemen who are 80 years old completing lifelong collections.
Sure.
And then there's the father and son duos, and there's kind of the lone wolves who just kind of flip the stuff and don't really care. But yeah, there's tons of different demographics. And
do you know the time that show is going to be at Gillette this week?
It should be, I believe, 9 or 10 in the morning to about 4 or 5 in the afternoon. So there's plenty of time. That's Saturday and Sunday this weekend. That's
pretty interesting, just to see. And that would probably give you a feel if you have something similar as to what those might be worth, and then you might want to run to the closet and dig them out and dust them off a little bit and have someone appraise them.
Yeah, you can always give me a call. I'm always always want to be fair, give you the straight truth. If you're a millionaire, you got $5. I'll tell you. I'll give you the skinny on it. So
it's very interesting. So, do any of the how to put this? But some of the I've got a card, but the guy never went anywhere, but he was a star at BC.
Sure.
I can't remember his name though. I just can't remember. Big tall guy, but obviously big tall guy. But anyway.
Taller than us,
Yeah, very, very much so. But he did very well at BC, but he never went very far as the NBA. Yeah,
so things like that are more niche for sure. I mean, again, anything only has a market as long as, other people want it. So again, you would have to find the 5 guys in the universe who love this guy, who want this card. That's why I try to buy, Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, Gronk, these huge superstars that we all know, household names, whereas that gentleman's probably not a household name, so it's just harder.
Yeah, someone brought a,
it's harder.
Kind of off the set here, let me see if I can get, what is that thing? I'm hooked, I'll go and get it. It's, I think it's one of the fellows that, You want to show him your oldie?
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And who are the comedians?
I'll double check and let you know if I forget.
I know we were looking to figure out.
Got some comedians here. It's pretty.
Well, not Laurel and Hardy, but maybe someone of that stature. I think they were telling us earlier.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know these gentlemen off the top of my head. There's obviously a lot of comedians, and these guys are before my time.
Sure.
Again, a piece like this, you'd have to get it authenticated, the autographs, because again, you and I could say the autograph's great, but the next person you're going to sell it to might not believe you. So again, you need PSA, who encapsulates the cards. They also do autograph verification, so they'll put a little stamp on it saying, some stamp.
So that
of
would
approval.
be something you would do a mailing to this?
Correct. Yeah, you have to mail it out to California, similar to with the cards.
Yeah.
And the cards, I mean, the cards take a good 6 months to get back. They're
Yeah.
that much of a
Takes that much time,
backlog.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Same thing with this. This is
Yeah.
probably even longer. It's probably about 8 months or so.
So that's probably, no matter who the
Individuals
two
are,
individuals
yeah.
it might be worth someone that had something like that to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if these guys were, if this was the Rat Pack or something.
Yeah,
you
it'd be a little different,
you know,
yeah,
a little
yeah,
different. And, had all of them
Yeah.
signed and whatnot. But,
What about
definitely a cool piece.
what about pictures that somebody may have taken themselves
Yeah, so
and not a commercial photographer? Do those pictures become valuable at all?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Especially if they've been developed within the first several years of them taking the photo. Those would be called a Type 1 photograph.
Yeah.
And that means, like I said, you shot the picture of Bobby Orr, doing the leap after the Stanley
Yeah.
Cup. You have that negative, and then if you develop them within a few years,
Yeah.
that's called a Type 1 photo, and it's very, very
Yeah,
valuable,
yeah.
especially if they're great-looking shots of famous people.
Yeah.
I got Frank Sinatra or Muhammad Ali or things like that. Definitely valuable. But if you have them on a camera roll, like on a string of film, and you never develop them, they're still valuable.
So, yeah.
But
yeah.
you get huge premium
Yeah.
if they're
Have you-
period.
Had the occasion to go to the U.S. Grand Prix, which was when I went to was 1968. It was at Watkins Glen, and I won't tell you all the particulars, but my roommate up there at the time, I was up in Rochester at the time, we found our way into the the garage.
Oh, yeah.
There was a big commotion, and it was like if you can picture an old garage with all the small windows on it. So we went down the alleyway, and sure enough, there was a side door, and we just walked in. I have to show you that someday. I've got pictures of the Ferrari team actually preparing their race car.
That's very cool.
And one in particular I have, and these aren't staged, obviously,
Yeah, sure.
And the mechanic has got his wrench, like turning this wrench on one of the engine
Something
parts.
fierce, yeah.
I'll have to show you that someday.
Very cool.
But we didn't stay there too long because this guy that was 6'10", at least he looked 6'10", walked us out the door. Luckily, he didn't take. We were really worried that he would take our cameras, but he didn't. So I'll show you this someday.
Did you develop them though back in the day? That's the key. Did you ever make them? Did you ever blow them up or make anything out of them, or just kept them on that roll of film?
No, I got them. And I've got them in a frame.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
cool. Yeah,
yeah,
those are
yeah.
definitely valuable. Again, you get to find the right Ferrari guy out there, but
Something like that.
there's a lot of millionaires with nice Ferraris who got deep pockets.
Yeah,
so.
got deep pockets. Yeah. So some of the things that people you may have taken pictures like on a vacation or something, and the pictures might be worth something. I
Absolutely.
had one interesting picture I took, and it was, I forget what year it was. We're down in Nashville, and we're at the Country Music Hall of Fame.
Oh, wow.
And it was just around the time that Ray Charles passed, and they had a display on the upper floor, right in the middle, pictures of him. So I got fairly close, and I took a picture of the picture, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I remember giving one to my son when he was in college, and he brought it in, and it came out so good. I'll tell you, it was unbelievable. They wanted to know how I knew Ray Charles.
Oh, wow.
They said, oh no, well he really knew him well, but so I gave him something
That's awesome.
to brag about.
Yeah.
But I've always wondered, because you do see that people have
Neat photos.
taken some great photos, and maybe, and that's why I asked. I didn't know whether they have any value or not, but I probably would check them out now.
Same thing with tickets too.
Yeah.
Tickets from different sporting events. A lot of you guys, I'm sure, out there are Patriots season ticket holders or Bruins season ticket holders, and if you got a shoebox full of tickets, there's definitely some value there.
Wow.
Ray Bork's first game, or Bobby Orr's 100th goal, or certain milestones. The Tuck Rule, or the Snow Bowl for the Patriots, or Brady's first game, or things like that.
Yeah.
There's definitely definitely don't throw away your tickets. Have someone like me or someone go through them, because there's definitely.
Do they have to
value there.
be a full ticket, or could they just be a stub?
Oh, stubs are typical, because obviously they ripped them off back in the day and sent you on your way.
If
so,
you didn't throw them over your shoulder,
so stubs are fine.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it is a full ticket, it is more valuable.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's, you didn't go to the game that day or whatnot.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I remember you mentioned something about baseballs.
Baseballs. Yeah.
And the presentation I went to, there was a man there that had a baseball enclosed in a
Little
glass
capsule. Yeah.
capsule.
Yeah.
And he had all signature. Could you explain? And I think you
Sure.
have like Petrocelli and all.
Yep, yeah, Petrocelli and Yaz and all that stuff.
Yes,
so with multi-team signed baseballs, it's paramount that you know what you're doing, because a lot of those baseballs were signed by, they're called clubhouse baseballs, so either the bat boy or somebody close to the team would kind of master all the guys' signatures.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who say, oh, my uncle's brother's mechanic got me this ball when I was a kid. It's like, you want to believe all those stories, but there's a lot more team signed baseballs that aren't genuine, that are, unfortunately. So again, those guys were rock stars back in the day.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm sure there's a lot of those around. So if someone out there had one that had multiple signatures on it, how do they find out if it's worth anything then? If it's
Sure, yeah. So again, they could send pictures to me, and like I said, I've done them for so long, I could pretty much tell you right away if it's an off signature, which means it's not genuine, or if it is something that we want to spend a couple more $100s to send it out to that company PSA in California, and then they'll give you the stamp of approval or rejection. And if it is good and they give it their blessing, it's worth significant money. And if it's not, you're out the $200, and now it's not a real family heirloom to
But they would
pass down.
They would tell you that too, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. They tell you if it was
good
good or bad, yep. And then you can kind of gauge your market value off of different auction houses, and then even local people.
I used to take a lot of pictures. I was pretty interested. I kind of got away from it. But I have a lot of pictures I've personally taken of Marvin Hagler, some at his bouts. And in those days, you could go right up
ringside,
you
could
go right to the ring apron, take pictures, and go back to your seat. You could never do that today.
No.
And also got something that came out pretty well. When they had a time from after he won the belt at I'm trying to remember the name of the place in Brockton, famous restaurant in Brockton, and we got invited to there. So I've got some pictures of him, like with his arms up with the belt, stuff like that. But again, those pictures I took, so they're not probably
not super high quality.
Yeah,
or
maybe not
taken
from the right angle or the focus and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But those would be something probably to look into.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the majority of collectors who are after high-end photographs, they want stuff taken back in the day and developed very closely to that time period. That's where you get the real premium. But I mean, even photos no one's ever seen before of their favorite athlete growing up or something like that. It's kind of like a newfound discovery. Almost. So there's definitely value there. Again, you got to find the right guy who's after something like that.
Do you do any traveling in this business of yours? I'm assuming you might get somebody from California and you get word that he's got something.
Yeah. One gentleman I actually reached out to was, like I said, I'm a big Cristiano Ronaldo guy. So I have obviously some more expensive ones than $200 cards of him. But so I reached out to a gentleman who originally owned that card. I kind of tracked him down. It's a 20-year-old card. And I became quite friendly with them. And long story short, one of his buddies used to own a card shop, and he's kind of liquidating everything, wants to sell pretty much 50 years worth of inventory. So he's giving me first dibs at it. So I might be making a trip out to Indiana sooner.
Something that you're currently doing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's ongoing. Yeah, I buy out collections quite a bit. People go to me because I'm a fair guy. So that's what people like.
So are you and your dad like in business, I guess?
Yeah, so my business, Perfect Pastime 617, that's all me.
Yeah.
But my dad helps out from time to time. If I have an event or something and needs to help me lug in stuff, or if I have to use the men's room, he can kind of work on the table and as I walk around the show. But
seems to be shows for all these different things. This friend of mine, he and a lot of folks out there would know him. He does the old Lionel trains.
Oh yeah.
His basement is like
chock
incredible.
Chock full of them.
But he's always going to shows, and so it seems like there's for every interest, it seems to be a show somewhere where people will trade. Even if it's a little piece, I guess, of the track or something, if it's something that he needs. He'll scoop that up. And the other thing, I think I showed you when I was there, those toys. I had those old Tonka toys.
Oh yeah, you showed me those. Yeah, those are cool. They're very cool.
But again, you probably have to have someone that would be interested in that, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, the ones, if I recall correctly, were from like the 80s or 90s, or a little bit on the newer side of things.
Probably middle 80s. Yeah, you're right. 80s
they're from a newer set. If they're older, Hess and Tonka trucks, and from the 50s and 60s, and then it's a whole different ball game because again, 30 more years of wear and 30 more years of people's parents chucking them away. So again, it just increases everything.
Yeah. I was telling one of my friends I was going to be doing this with you, and he has some, what the heck were they? Ninja
Turtles? Little dolls? Yeah.
No, he has a waste paper basket.
Oh, very cool.
It's a ninja thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so a lot of the Ninja Turtle stuff, funny enough, it has a pretty good premium if it's like the first edition, but the more of like the action figures and stuff like that. So again, if they're new, unopened, that's gold.
Yeah.
That's real good stuff.
Yeah.
That's really good stuff.
So a lot of times people get gifts and they'll be, replica, say, of a car or something like that, and they're enclosed in a box with stuff like that. So they become valuable?
Not a ton of value there because, again, those are mass-produced and kind of, again, from that 80s to 90 mass-produced era. Same thing with the sports cards. If they're super new from the 80s or 90s, it's called the junk wax era.
Yeah.
Essentially, Topps and all these manufacturers got greedy because in the 50s through the 70s, the cards are really good, low printed, and things like that. But then, like I said, Topps got greedy and in the 80s and 90s and mass-produced everything. So it made Topps and all these companies very rich, but the collectors got hurt. Because now instead of one Ken Griffey Jr. card, there's 100,000 Ken Griffey Jr. cards. They printed too much of it. So like anything, there's a lot of it out there.
So that being the case, how would if someone came out, say, with a Ken Griffey card, how you determine whether it's from the older manufacturer or something that's new?
Sure, yeah. So typically with any sports card, the rookie cards go for the most. Yeah. For instance, a Mickey Mantle card. 52 Topps and an A, which is authentic, which is lower than a 1 grade. So the grading scale is 1 through 10. Obviously 10 being the best, 1 being the worst, and A is even lower than a 1. Looks like ran it through your bike spoke, shot out the BB gun, rubbed it in mud. That would be about 30,000. Whereas a second year Mickey Mantle and an A is $800. So rookie cards, huge premium on those, and again, it's just stuff you have to have experience with. I've handled all these cards so many times. There's a lot of reprints of these things because obviously at a $30,000 price tag, people are going to be trying. There's going to be bad actors there.
Sure, I imagine it would be.
There's going to be bad actors there. So again, you have to know what you're doing and know what you're looking at. It's just experience, really.
Really. One of the things you mentioned, you talked about the cards and the spokes, and a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
In my era, 50s and 60s especially, would use those just for the
make the noise.
Just make the noise, But the other thing you mentioned too was we used to have your card and we would flip them to a wall. Whoever got closest to the wall would win, or if one leaned, game over, that type of thing. But it sort of talks about a different era where kids essentially made their own games, their own toys.
Absolutely.
And because they couldn't afford some of the stuff. I mean, I remember, just a little bit off the track, but I remember we used to play ball, and originally it was a sand lot. And I remember we had a baseball that it must have been almost double its size because it had so much tape on it.
Yep, keep it going.
Keep it going, you know. But now, are there any other exotic things that more exotic things that you say that are collectibles, but not many because they're so...
kind of going off the cards a bit, Pokemon cards, if you could believe it or not, from like the late 1990s, early 2000s. Those are definitely things that I purchase on the regular basis. So, people have, kids kind of in their 30s or 40s, moved out the house, buy their, their kids could care less about them. So I buy the albums or single cards, so Pokemon cards. There's quite a collector base, if you can believe it. That's kind of one of those oddities. I'm trying to think. The tickets, we went over that. The coins are pretty collectible. Sports memorabilia is pretty hard to sell, I will say that. So even if you have a nice big blown up picture of Mickey Mantle that he signed and it is authenticated by PSA, the collectors who have that stuff already have one. So there's very few people kind of going forward who are after that stuff, even though he is an all-time great and most famous. Same thing with Ted Williams. There's only so many guys who kind of appreciate that era.
What about records? I understand that there's a new thing going around over the last several years, people going back to vinyl because they say it's the best to listen to and so forth. So I guess the question is, what about albums? I think all of us probably have albums that we've probably played 100 times. We probably have
Destroyed
the
them.
Beatles' White Album that's been played 50 times. So getting into records.
So records are an interesting one. Again, it's pretty nuanced. The best ones are obviously the first pressing. For instance, a Led Zeppelin first pressing, that's obviously, they're from the UK, so to have a first pressing from the UK is several $1,000s, and if it is sealed by very rare chance, that's $6,000 to $10,000. So that's like the kind of area I like to play. I like to play kind of the higher end of the collectibles because, like you said, everybody's got a Beatles white album for $15 now or whatever. There's not a ton of value there, but if you do have sealed period Beatles albums, Led Zeppelin, Rolling Stones, you know, Elvis Presley, anything like that, there's definitely some value there. But opened records, there's definitely, you know, $5 to $15 pieces, but again, you won't get those really premium step-ups.
What about some of the older records like that would have been, say, my father's time, probably, you know, music out of the 1930s and 40s, and those types of albums? Are they so old that no one would be interested in those?
Again, it's more nuanced. There are different RCIA records and different catalogs. You have to kind of look up into them. It's definitely a smaller fan base of collectors, but they're a lot more like dedicated and diehard.
Yeah.
Because those records are close to 100 years old.
Yeah.
And those were, again, pressed in, you know, UK, India, different, you know, European countries, so they're a lot more nuanced.
How about bicycles?
Schwinns and stuff always sell well. Yeah, Schwinns sell well.
Remember that name?
Mongoose, Mongoose. There's a couple, again, a smaller market. You know, people are after their childhood things. You don't want the nostalgia. That's all this stuff is at the end of the day. It's, you know, it's good nostalgia. It makes you, you know, remember something.
It's like, I'm thinking, Hollywood, do they, because when they make their movies, you know, they'll do them like this movie is 1930 or something, and all the 1930 cars are there. Everything looks, you know, period. You know, do they actually go around collecting these things to have in stock?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. So the prop houses typically will buy the certain era of stuff, or they'll rent it out to said production. One gentleman that I've actually bought quite a few things from, he had a prop house come to him, a Massachusetts guy, and they loved all of his old vintage stuff. So they were doing, you know, like you said, a movie from the 30s, they had a movie from the 60s, and he had all different kind of period pieces that were really nice. So they wrote him a huge check, and you know, drove the stuff back to California. So they're actively looking for this stuff. Yeah,
because I assume, like, even, you know, a lot of the towns have this happen. We had not too long ago, we have a very old train station, and they did some, I forget the name of the movie. I can't remember, but they use that in the movie, and so you go to definitely go to the movie because I want to see that on the screen, you know. So they even do a lot. I guess they must catalog different like landmarks and stuff like that. Or?
Sure, yeah. In the movies, for sure. Obviously, I was watching The Town the other day, and obviously that's Boston-based movie. So there's definitely different historical landmarks and stuff like that they try to incorporate. Again, most of the movies are shot in California and things like that, so a lot of the landmarks aren't too familiar with us, but they definitely try to incorporate the local pieces.
Just like, what's his name? The actor, he grew up in South Boston, but he does a lot of stuff.
Mark Wahlberg, Ben Affleck.
I was thinking Wahlberg, I was thinking Wahlberg,
all those guys.
Cambridge guys. But they seem to try to do a lot of their movies where they grew up, which I think is pretty cool, because no matter what, where that might be in the world or in the country, I mean, there could be something that one of these actors grew up on like an old farm that was 1,000 miles away from everything, but there might be a great, you know, a barn or a silo or something. You know, I think that's a good way of doing some of that stuff. I think it makes it more interesting to people.
Absolutely, you know? Because it's a local audience you're catering to. You know, you're helping out the local community. It's all local makeup people. It's local set people. It's local lights, cameras. You know, you're helping out that kind of local audience rather than, you know, people in California who aren't from your community. So it's nice to see that they come back here for a lot of the films, like you said.
Some of them, you know, and I think, even though they're from a different area, I think it just adds to the movie. So no matter where someone, if it's a good movie, no matter where someone's watching, they might pick up on, say, geez, look at that railroad station. I remember seeing something like that when I was a kid or something, you know. So I think that helps the cause, so to speak. Anything else you think we should be thinking about saving, or?
Furniture is always good stuff, but it's hard to move, and again, it's neither here nor there. I personally like furniture. I wish I had a big warehouse for it all, because I get offered it every single day. And there's a lot of beautiful stuff out there, so definitely don't throw it away. Definitely don't put it on the street for free. You know, try to keep on to it as long as you can, because, you know, you go to IKEA and you can buy a plastic chair or something like that. Just doesn't really do it for me. I like old, you know, made in America, you know, tough stuff that's gonna last forever. So I definitely hold on to that stuff.
Yeah, I
There's
think-
going to be a market for it one
Yeah.
day.
I think we have
Come
an
back.
old, I think it's a Singer sewing machine. It's like another thing where you can kind of flip it and it
Yep.
goes in like, yeah.
The little case there and it
Yep.
depresses.
Yeah, yeah. But I think
Mhm.
probably most people probably had one of those or had one in the family because, again, you know, if you got a tear in something, you know, now you just toss it. But
Yeah.
back in those
You
days,
kept it, you
these
fixed
people,
it, yeah, you fixed
and,
it.
And
Mhm.
there's a couple of shops here in town, one I can think of, top of my head, they do cleaning, but
Okay.
they also have, I think, one or two people there that do, you know, the hemming and stitching and so forth like that.
Mhm.
And it's fun to see them like in front of one of these sewing machines, you know, they're sewing away, you know.
Yeah.
So
Something of the past.
Yeah,
Yeah. Another thing I'll say is a lot of people's China. Everybody thinks their China sets are worth a small fortune. Newsflash: unless it's a Rosenthal or a very, very prestigious set, there's probably not a lot of value there.
Yeah.
Again, everybody's family has a lot of sets. For
Yeah.
my own family, my mother's got about 4 or 5
Yeah.
sets for, you know, my sister and I. And we don't have grand parties anymore as a society and everything like that. So you don't bust out the sterling anymore. You don't bust out the
Yeah,
China.
right.
You know, it just
Yeah,
doesn't happen anymore.
yeah.
It's just kind of one of those things of yesteryear. So again, your China, hate to break it to you, it probably isn't worth a lot, unfortunately. Same thing with Hummels and a lot of the porcelain stuff.
Yeah.
Again, the right collector for that stuff, you have to ship it to them and bubble wrap it and stuff
Yeah.
like that. It's not like there's a local shop who's really after that stuff again, because
Yeah.
everybody has so much of it. You know, it's neither here nor there, but
Yeah.
it's just harder stuff to sell and to kind of get
Yeah,
the market
yeah.
for it.
I can imagine anything with its weight or bulky,
Fragile.
fragile.
Yeah.
You know,
Which is
especially-
Hummels in China, thin plates,
Yeah.
you know.
One time ago, this fellow gave me, I probably still got them. I think there were coffee cups, and they were actually made in Japan. I think it says on the bottom.
Yeah, made in occupied Japan or something like
Something
that.
like that,
So
yeah.
that's after World War II.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, the Japanese actually created a lot of our tin toys and things
Yeah.
like that in the 60s and 50s for us, because we dropped the 2 atomic bombs on them, and we kind of had a duty to rebuild them after the war.
Yeah.
You know, we taught them baseball and brought the sport over
Yeah.
there. You know, baseball is massive over there. So,
Yeah.
a lot of the China you'll see made in Japan or preoccupied Japan or occupied Japan.
Yeah.
Stamped on the bottom. Again, not a ton of value there because it was mass produced.
Yeah,
The stuff that does have the value is a lot of the European stuff, and again, it's, you know, $20 a plate max.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
again, there's value there, but after you ship it halfway across the universe and pray to God that it isn't broken, you know, there's not a ton of meat on the bone.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say to, you know, our audience that's listening, as far as maybe being aware of something that might be an antique or
Mhm.
things, you know, that would lend you to say, well, you know, don't really bother. I don't know a lot about antiques, virtually nothing,
Sure.
but I've always thought that if it was old,
It's gold.
it would be, it's a possibility. If it was pristine, obviously common sense says that might be worth something. But then on the other hand, I suppose if you found a coin that was kind of beat up, but it was obviously you could read the date on it, stuff like that, maybe that's worth something. So,
Sure.
under that, thinking like that, what would you tell people?
Yeah, so obviously if something's in pristine shape and it's old, very few things are in pristine shape that are old.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
I'm only 24, I'm not in too good shape, but I keep going. So it's like anything, if it's older and it's pristine, it has a bigger collectible base because, like I said, less survive. There's a bajillion of them beat up and destroyed. Same thing with the sports cards, you know, the Mickey Mantle like we were talking about.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
A is 30,000 and a 10, it's 20 million.
When you say A10, what does that mean?
An A is an authentic, which is
Oh.
lower than a 1 grade.
Okay.
We were talking about that Mickey Mantle
Yeah,
rookie card
gotcha,
earlier on.
gotcha,
That's
yeah.
30,000. So if it's in a 10 condition, which is pristine, like we were talking about, it's about 20,000, 20 million, not 20,000, 20 million.
$20 million for a,
Mickey Mantle rookie card PSA 10. So
Yeah.
30,000 to 20 million.
It's
There's a
amazing.
big discrepancy there.
Yeah.
So again, yeah, anything comic books, coins,
Mm.
paper money, anything you have in, you know, pristine shape, you're gonna get a premium for. And even if it's not, you know, definitely look for your sports cards and things like that, because you know you never know what you have, and
Mhm.
it takes somebody obviously who has industry experience to kind of, you know, push you in the right direction,
Really?
something
Yeah.
like that.
What type of coins would a typical person in
Yeah.
this day and age would he find, or would he or she find maybe in their change that might have some value?
Yeah. So the majority of people will have. This is a Morgan. Let's see if I can get it. This is a Morgan silver dollar.
Mhm.
I can't really see it. but it's a typical piece from about 1870 to 1921, 22. A lot of people's grandparents have a mason jar full of coins,
sure.
or a bucket of grandpa's coins, things like that. So a lot of the times there'll be Morgan dollars. A lot of times also there'll be piece dollars, which is the dollar coin that preceded that coin. A lot of people have gold coins too. I buy a lot of gold coins. Again, everybody's grandpa had something that passed down to him.
When did the U.S. stop putting silver in their coins?
1964.
64.
Yep. So all quarters, dimes, halves. 64 is 90% silver.
Really?
So 90% silver, and the other 10% was copper. That was just to keep the coin a little bit tougher, because silver and pure gold is a little bit malleable. Oh. And then from 1965 to 1970, the half dollars are clad, which is 40% silver.
Yeah.
So, for instance, to put that in perspective, quick math for you, a 64 half dollar, you need 3 of those to get you 1 full ounce of silver.
Yeah, are those the Kennedy halves?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
64.
Those,
You need 2.7 if you want to be precise. So 2.7 Kennedy halves from 64 get you 1 ounce of pure silver.
Wow.
And then clad the next year, 65 through 70, is only 40%. So you need almost 7 of those to get you 1 ounce. So again.
So maybe it would be worthwhile for a lot of us to have coins you just throw into your
absolutely. Sift through them.
Yeah, either on your desk or in your the box in your car, or the soda holder or whatever like that.
I'm always buying coins, so that's definitely it's just stuff people have kicking around. They want the cash for them, and I give people a square deal, and that's that.
I know my son had it was a container, and he had it for quite a while, and it was what was it? Oh, Harley fund, because he was wanting a bicycle.
There you go, a real bike.
A real bike, and he would always toss his change in there. So it might be worthwhile for all of us that do that. Throw your change into a desk, any kind of container or something. That although it's relatively new, like you said, from the 60 was it?
Yeah, so 64 and before, all dimes, quarters, very few nickels are silver. I think it's 43 to 45 nickels are silver. The rest of the nickels are inferior metals. But yeah, look for your quarters. 1964 and before is 90%. So yeah, dimes and quarters.
Yeah.
And half dollars and dollar coins are obviously 90%.
Remember they had a dollar coin not too long ago?
They have like Sacagawea dollars, and I think what's her name from the 70s?
Oh yeah.
There's one.
Yeah, that's what I'm
It's
thinking.
like a goofy looking one. Susan B. Anthony?
Susan B. Anthony, yeah.
Yeah, those aren't worth it. Those really aren't worth too much. Yeah, Susan B. Anthony's. Yeah, everybody thought for the bicentennial and everything like that. But,
yeah, as I was saying earlier, this friend of mine, forever.
The proof sets are great though. The proofs are great.
I'm sorry.
The proof sets that your one of your buddies you said collects the proofs.
Oh really? Yeah. Then they would be worth something.
Yeah, the proof sets are good. There's different things that the mint made. Obviously, like I said, the U.S. Mint after 1970 didn't use any silver, but for some of the proof sets, for instance, well, this is a dollar coin, so it doesn't really matter. They use silver in some of those productions as like a special edition. Yeah. So the silver proofs are quite desirable, and even if they're inferior quarters and pennies and stuff like that, those proofs are still valuable. So definitely look for those too, the proof sets.
This friend of mine has a ton of old coins.
That's great.
He at one point bought one of those what do you call them? That people go on the beach with.
Oh, a little metal detector.
Metal detector, sorry, yeah, getting old here. Metal detector, and he just come up. I mean, he showed me some of his coins, and some of them were old, but they looked like new. I guess they had been in the ground so long.
Yeah, maybe it preserved them.
It preserved them, I guess. In his a couple of, I don't know if he still does or not. A couple of tricks were that he would go to he would get books from the library that would show where there would be various parks. Because back in the early 1900s or before, one of the recreational things for people was to go to parks and have picnics and stuff like that. And inadvertently, you're always probably going to drop a coin or something like that. So he used to go to a lot of these old parks once he found out where they were, and got a lot of coins that way.
That's real neat. Yeah, he's a smart guy.
Yeah, and then there was like a place down next door in Canton, a ball field. I forget what it was on now. But anyway, they put in a ball field, and they went in with a dozer and stripped everything off into piles of dirt. Well, he and his buddy went there, and they got quite a few coins out of that too. But yeah, he some of those coins were like, I think he even had a couple of 1700s that he
Wow.
come up out of the ground.
Wow.
Like, it's like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll have to mention him to you because I'm sure you'd like to look at his collection.
Yeah, I'm sure it's awesome.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, we're just about winding up. I think this has been very enlightening. It's been kind of fun, kind of disappointing with the thing I showed you earlier. But I guess that's part of the game. You might be elated, depending on what it is, but you might have got fooled like I did. Not fooled, but I thought that was worth some value, that particular Babe Ruth thing. But I like the idea that you were able to go off in these different directions.
Sure, yeah.
And everything I threw at you, you knew something about. You know what I mean?
You got to pivot.
And as I was saying earlier, he's very young, but he is very knowledgeable. And you know, you'll see his number on the screen where you might want to contact him. He's locally Foxborough. Was it?
Yeah, Foxborough, but I travel pretty much everywhere. So yeah, give me a ring anytime.
So you might want to call and check it out. And again, I'm not promoting it necessarily, but I didn't realize the show was coming up that soon.
Yep.
It was just in time, I guess.
Yeah,
we were
timing,
just in time, perfect timing.
Perfect
but
timing.
by all means, maybe take some of the young kids there. Maybe that would spark an interest too. For
Absolutely,
them, you know?
yeah, absolutely.
So
it's a great time to be a collector. I mean, there's no really bad time to start. Like I said, I've been collecting my whole life with my father. I got his baseball cards, and that kind of made me addicted. And you know, I put them in nice, sheets and everything like that. And I think ultimately it teaches you a little bit of discipline, and teaches you about history at the end of the day. There's not a lot of history being taught in a lot of school systems and stuff like that. So it's cool to learn about our past. You know, it really is.
Last question: how old were you when you first started getting involved?
Collecting?
Yeah.
Oh man, probably like 5 or 6.
Wow, may I see that?
Yeah,
and
5 or 6.
You're still doing it today.
Yeah,
you know?
I love it. I love it. You got to do what you love.
Yeah.
You got to do what you love.
Yeah, as we were talking about earlier, back in the day, the big thing was baseball cards for sure.
Yeah.
And people did various things with them, but that was a big thing. Stamp collecting
It was huge.
was huge. I've got a book somewhere. I don't know where it is.
Yep.
But that was huge. Everybody collected stamps. And to a lesser degree, people would collect coins, but most back when I did, if you had a few coins, for a quarter, you could get in someone's car and ride around for the night.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, well, listen, it's been good seeing you again.
Yes, likewise.
And I think the audience has got a lot out of this. I think just talking about the memorabilia that we talked about earlier, and some of you guys that are guys and gals, that are my age will remember how we use the cards and so forth. Which if we had put them aside, we'd be millionaires now.
Yep.
So once again, thanks for coming to the Godfathers.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. This was great.
It was fun.
Yes,
thanks
likewise.
so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Leave the gun. Technique can only.